Good morning, children. Today we will do a new lesson from your prose text, The Treasure Trove. The lesson is A Face in the Dark. It's a very short lesson, and the writer is Ruskin Bond, page 73. Ruskin Bond, an Indian author of British descent, is a prolific writer. Prolific means he writes a lot, whose works are popular with adults and children alike. In the following story written, the Ruskin Bond relates a thrilling incident set among the picturesque hills around Shimla. Ruskin Bond's fascination with the paranormal finds expression in this macabre tale. Macabre tale, there's something of the horror movie or the horror film in this poem. Something supernatural, something which you cannot explain by reason. So we'll go on to the story, A Face in the Dark. Mr. Oliver, an Anglo-Indian teacher, was returning to his school late one night on the outskirts of the hill station of Simla. Outskirts means border, so he is working there. From before Kipling's time, the school had been run on English public school lines. So it is run on in the English public school lines, and the boys, most of them from wealthy Indian families, wore blazers, that is a kind of coat, caps and ties. Life magazine, in a feature on India, had once called it the Eton of the East. Eton is a very famous school in England, and so in one magazine, this school where this teacher worked, Mr. Oliver worked, is referred to as the Eton in the East. East refers to India. So this school is run in the model of English public schools. That is why it is called Eton of the East. Mr. Oliver had been teaching in the school for several years. He is an Anglo-Indian teacher in the school. The Simla Bazaar, with its cinemas and restaurants, was about 3 miles from the school. And Mr. Oliver, a bachelor, usually strolled into the town in the evening. That is, he went to he visited the bazaar and those places. He usually took a very leisurely walk into the town in the evening. And Mr. Oliver, a bachelor, usually strolled into the town in the evening, returning after dark, when he would take a shortcut through the pine forest. There were pine trees and it was a forest, and when he was returning, he will take a shortcut through this forest. So in the evening, in order to relax himself, he went for a walk along this road where there was the Simla Bazaar, cinemas and restaurants. He just went for a walk. He didn't go to visit these places. When there was a strong wind, the pine trees made sad, eerie sounds. Eerie, very strange sounds when the breeze blew against the pine trees. When there was a strong wind, the pine trees made sad, eerie sounds that kept most people to the main road. Usually they didn't take this shortcut through the forest when it was dark because of these sounds, these strange sounds in the forest. But Mr. Oliver was not nervous. He was not frightened. So he took the shortcut. Mr. Oliver was not a nervous or imaginative man. He carried a torch, and its gleams, the batteries were running down, moved fitfully down the narrow forest path. The batteries were running down, the charge was low, so the light was very faint and it was flickering. The light was flickering, that is only now and then. Moved fitfully down the narrow forest path. When its flickering light fell on the figure of a boy who was sitting alone on a rock, Mr. Oliver stopped. Now a boy was sitting there at this time it is past evening, it was almost night, and this boy was sitting there on a rock, a lonely figure. Mr. Oliver stopped. Boys were not supposed to be out after dark. Maybe by the uniform he recognized that it was a boy from his school, and boys were not allowed to come out after it was dark. "What are you doing out here, boy?" asked Mr. Oliver sharply, moving closer so that he could recognize the miscreant. Miscreant, a person who has done something wrong, some mischief. So this boy, the wrong that he has done is coming out of the school at night. "So what are you doing out here, boy?" asked Mr. Oliver sharply, moving closer so that he could recognize the miscreant. But even as he approached the boy, Mr. Oliver sensed that something was wrong. As he came nearer to the boy, he had a feeling, an instinctive feeling that something was wrong. The boy appeared to be crying. His head hung down. He held his face in his hands. He could not see his face at that time because his head was bowed down and he was holding his head in his hands. The boy appeared to be crying. His head hung down. He held his face in his hands and his body shook convulsively now and then like. It was a strange, soundless weeping. And Mr. Oliver felt distinctly uneasy. Uneasy, uncomfortable. Very clearly he felt uncomfortable because the boy was weeping. The boy's body was moving but no sound was coming. No weeping sound was coming. "Well, what's the matter?" he asked, his anger giving way to concern. Now he is worried. First he was angry because the boy was out late at night. Then when he heard the weeping sound, he became worried. He became concerned. "Well, what's the matter?" he asked, his anger giving way to concern. "What are you crying for?" The boy would not answer or look up. His body continued to be racked with silent sobbing. Body was moving, shaking about because of his sobbing, crying. "Tell me the trouble. Look up." The teacher asked him to look up. The boy looked up. The light from Mr. Oliver's torch fell on the boy's face, if you could call it a face. So there is something strange about the face, if you could call it a face, because the face had no eyes, ears, nose or mouth. It was just a round, smooth head. Only the head was there. There was no eyes, ears, nose or mouth on that face, and the head also had a cap, a school cap on top of it. So it had no eyes, ears, nose or mouth. It was just a round, smooth head with a school cap on top of it. And that is where the story should end. But for Mr. Oliver, it did not end here. The torch fell from his trembling hand. He's shaking. Mr. Oliver is so frightened now to see this strange thing in the boy without a face, without any features on the face. He trembled. The torch fell from his hand. He turned and scrambled down the path, scrambled to move quickly and hurriedly. He scrambled down the path, running blindly through the trees and calling for help, shouting for help. He was scared, Mr. Oliver. He was still running towards the school building when he saw a lantern swinging in the middle of the path. Somebody is coming, and this person who was coming towards him had a lantern in his hand, a kind of light. Mr. Oliver stumbled up to the watchman. He was the watchman, gasping for breath. Stumbled. Notice the fear, the scare. He is very scared, Mr. Oliver, having seen the faceless boy. Mr. Oliver stumbled up to the watchman, gasping for breath. "What is it, Sahib?" Sahib is a term of respect addressed to the teacher. "What is it, Sahib?" asked the watchman. "Has there been an accident? Why are you so frightened? Why are you struggling?" Has there been an accident somewhere? Why are you running? Why are you running in fear? I saw something horrible. A boy weeping in the forest, and that boy, he had no face. No face, Sahib. And the teacher continued, he had no eyes, nose, mouth, nothing. Only a smooth round face without any features. Do you mean it was like this, Sahib? So the watchman is asking him, was the boy's face like this? And he lifted the lantern to his own face, and his own face did not have eyes, nose, mouth or nothing. Do you mean it was like this, Sahib? Asked the watchman, and raised the lamp to his own face. The watchman had no eyes, no ears, no features at all, not even an eyebrow. And that is when the wind blew the lamp out. So there is no ending for the story. The ending is left to your imagination, and the story ends there. It is a very small, short story. We'll stop there.